A boy can't have extra mental abilities without having regular mental abilities. You understand what I'm saying? Aw, thanks, man.
Welcome back to another episode of Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. I'm Adam.
I'm Aaron.
And we're back for episode 4 of this season, Mental Kel-Epathy.
It's a good one. It's a good one, people.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we had some like home runs of the past so far this season. This might be like a double in my books, but it's definitely I had a good time watching it.
I agree. Yeah, it was fun. A little bit of a different dynamic than the past couple episodes, but we're starting to ease into the groove of the show now. So
yeah, we got a bunch of great firsts this episode.
Exactly.
When it comes to things that stick around for a long time.
Yeah, we're like building the stories around the characters, really.
Yeah, you're I guess Kel's been in the background a little bit. He's starting to come into his own a little bit more, and
yep.
I'm ready. I'm all for it.
Me too. So let's get going.
Okay.
Superheroes with superpowers have been at the heart of human stories since the beginning. Hercules had superhuman strength. Odysseus had legendary archery skills. Jesus walked on water. These physical feats are the cornerstones of the heroes of history. But when physical prowess is unmatched, psychological powers come into play. This interesting dichotomy is where legend sometimes becomes belief. For some reason or another, millions around the globe believe in extrasensory perception, or ESP, and psychic powers. Perhaps psychic powers are more believable than physical powers. You can see somebody's muscles and posture, but you can't see the inner workings of their mind. In this way, the fine line between story and reality becomes not so fine. There's an ambiguity behind the powers of the human brain. For a curious Kel Kimble, the term mental ambiguity doesn't quite cut it. There's something else at play here, something more mysterious than your run-of-the-mill psychic capacities. Kel's mind is different, unique, extraordinary, never to be forgotten. No, the story of this young Chicago native's telepathic powers will be remembered for ages to come.
So we start on stage with Kenan and Kel introducing themselves. I'm known as Kenan, I'm known as Kel. And something different happens this time. Oh, do you want to...
Sure, I'll explain it. So Kel asks Kenan to move over. So Kenan does. And then a giant boulder falls from the sky. Right where Kenan was standing. And Kenan asks Kel how he knows that was going to happen. And Kel says, I guess I just know.
What do you think of the boulder prop?
Very dramatic. Why?
Yeah.
Why did... Okay, so if this episode... we'll get back to it. We'll get back to this point, because we're going to talk about it a lot. But he just somehow knew that a boulder was going to fall on the stage in the middle of nowhere. It was... got your attention. A good hook.
Yeah, that's a great hook. Because you can watch any other episode of Kenan and Kel, and that intro will not happen. You'll not see a giant stone from, like, Indiana Jones fall in the middle of them.
Yeah, it was a good literary device, for sure.
All right. Yep, then we hop right into the episode. The Rockmores are playing a board game of sorts.
It looks like Monopoly, but it's
Yes.
definitely not.
What things keyed you off to the fact that it's not Monopoly?
That Mr. Rockmore got sent to the dungeon.
Yeah. He also lands somewhere and he has to pay like $7,000.
Yep.
And that doesn't bankrupt him. Like that's a lot of money for Monopoly.
And they're all just holding their money in their hand. It's like it's small paper money.
I think someone loses a turn as well, but yep. So Kel is joining them for a game.
Yeah, Kenan and Kel come into the room.
And they come in through the door, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, the kitchen is now an open layout. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of walk right over.
Oh, okay. We have not set up the kitchen door yet.
No.
Eventually that grows into the
They get a renovation.
House.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep, they come in with their snacks and ready to play a game, and Kel drops some knowledge that he knows about various members of the family.
So he tells Mrs. Rockmore, he gives her a diet soda, and he says, I know you want a diet because you're trying to lose 5 pounds.
Yep. He outlines that Kenan has a crush on a girl named Naomi.
Naomi, something like that.
Naomi, right. Mr. Rockmore, what does he have?
Oh, Mr. Rockmore has 3 cavities.
Yep. And it sounds like and he slowly kind of goes through the family and very casually drops this inside knowledge about them.
And everybody's pretty confused.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, that's the scene. Well, there's a couple more occasions. He knows that the phone's gonna ring. He knows who's gonna be on the phone, and but ultimately the scene ends with them all going, "Kel must be like psychic or something." Then don't ask him about it, and it just cuts to the next scene.
Yep.
A whole day goes by, and Kenan's like thinking about it,
Yep.
but
nobody like does anything right there. They just keep playing the board game. What I really liked about this scene is when Kel outs Kenan for having a crush on Naomi, and Kenan starts to blush, and the whole family's like, "Ooh, Naomi," and and then Kenan goes, "I'm not blushing. I have asthma." His dad goes, "You don't have no asthma." So I got a good kick out of that.
That's a strong words coming from someone that gets puffy. Right? I'm not sure how good his Roger's diagnostics are when it comes to other people.
He seems slightly distant from his whole family, even though he's spending all day with them. Anyways.
I also think it's pretty weird how they spent a lot of time on Kel really wanting to roll a 10.
Yeah.
Doesn't really credit his psychicness if he's like begging the dice to become a 10. He rolls a 10, but he should probably say something like, "I know I'm gonna roll a 10."
Something along the lines of, like a knowledge, not just asking the dice gods to. Yeah, that's not very psychic.
Guess we cut to Rigby's grocery store, where Kenan's telling Chris all about his troubles with Kel's psychic premonitions. Which, great exchange between them.
Yes.
He says, "How did he know I have a crush?" And Chris is like, "Who? Kel! You have a crush on Kel?"
It's a very good back and forth, very fun.
Yeah, that's my favorite kind of comedy that the show does. Comically missing the point.
Yes,
it's called.
Yeah. I like
Kel
that.
does
Yeah,
a lot more in later seasons.
And it's very simple comedy, and it works very well in the sitcom setting.
And it's built into the writing. Like, that's something you are clever with in the writer's room.
Yeah.
That you bring to the show. You don't discover that on set.
Right, exactly.
But Kenan asks Chris, "Have you noticed anything strange about Kel lately?"
And in comes Kel.
to deliver the most notable thing that Kel does.
Ever. In the entire show.
Yes,
So, Kel breaks into song, and as he walks near the cooler, or the refrigerator, and he says,
Who loves orange soda? Kel loves orange soda. Is it true? Is it true? Oh yes, it's true. Ooh. I do. Ooh.
I do. Ooh. Oh, I messed it up.
I'm pretty sure it's do ooh.
I even wrote it down verbatim.
Yeah, the first one's a little different too, right? Because he just says, "Is it true?" twice. And I think it's true ooh twice as well.
It's it's the beginning of many Kel. You know, we're probably just gonna cut what I sang. No, we'll leave it in. We're just gonna put in so you guys can hear it.
We've officially evolved from Kel that loves ham to Kel that loves orange soda. He's been drinking it throughout like the past couple episodes, but now it comes out. And yeah, that becomes a defining trait.
I wonder if that was just something that like Kel Mitchell like loved, so he would just drink it. And then it became this big thing. Or I wonder if it was always written in.
Yeah, it's I could see him gravitating towards that prop. I know that he has expressed that he likes orange soda just regularly, like in interviews and stuff after the fact.
Yeah. So it probably was both. Probably both and.
It has been said, and it'll be continue to be said throughout the episode, throughout the season. So I'm keeping a counter here. See how many orange soda declarations we have throughout the show.
Good. This is knowledge we really need.
I'm can't wait to find out the true number,
because nobody's ever done this count before. By the way,
no,
we're making history.
I've looked on the Kenan and Kel wiki, and they call out some stuff like things that Kenan asked Kel to get at the end of the episode, but nothing official.
So here it is. We're documenting.
They talk to Kel about his psychic powers, and Chris tries to prove it by asking him tell him something about himself that no one should know. And he reveals a fear of Chris's, which is
being chased by a giant bunny.
Yep. Which at first sounds ridiculous, but he turns to Kenan and confesses that it's true.
What I love about this is he doesn't turn to Kenan. He goes, "Excuse me for a second." He runs back to Kenan, and then he yells, "How did he know that?" And that's what I love that about this sitcom, because Kel is still like right there. He's only about like 15 feet away, and he's just like yelling to Kenan.
Very often in a small corner store,
yes.
People having separate conversations, very loud separate conversations.
Yeah, it happens in every corner store we know. So,
but it's nice to see this wackier side of Chris.
Yeah,
definitely comes out as the show goes.
Yeah, he becomes a good supporting character. Definitely in this episode.
Kenan laughs at Chris and then escorts Kel to the other room as he assembles a breakfast or lunch or something, just out of a bunch of stuff around. Anything else about the scene?
So yeah, before they go to the back room, Kenan turns to Chris and he says, "Hey Chris, look out behind you. There's a big old bunny." And Chris freaks out. And then we go into the back room.
Yeah. Here, Kenan confronts Kel about all the psychic stuff that he's done so far. And again, like I said, I noted here, Kel never denounced this like the previous night. Everyone's just like, he's psychic, and Kel just said nothing, which I think speaks to his mental capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, he's so innocent in all meanings of the word, you know.
Yeah, and you have to address him directly if you want an answer of any kind.
Yeah, well, let's explain. How did he know that Chris was afraid of being chased by a giant bunny and that he had nightmares about it?
He had overheard Chris in his sleep, and he motions to the bed that's in the back room.
How'd you know about Chris and the giant bunny web? Once I came back here when he was taking a nap, right? He was talking in his sleep like this. Go away, giant bunny! Go away! I'm not a carrot! Go away! Okay.
Why does Chris sleep at Rigby's?
Why does Kel go to the back?
Yeah, both of those things should be happening here.
What I love about this back office in Rigby's and the storage, it's like as big as the store, you know? It's
the same
It's
size.
about the same size. So I just like that setup. But yep. And then Kenan asks, how did you know about the phone ringing?
And he explains that there's a little light that blinks
right before it rings. Yeah.
How does he know about? Let's see. It was his dad's cavities.
He goes to the same dentist, and he looked in his file, which of course happens.
I want to see that scene of, you recall our family dentist growing up. They're behind everyone that works there is the filing system. Yeah,
this definitely seems like pre-HIPAA days. You can't just go into an office and look at somebody's. No. A HIPAA is 1996. So,
so right on the money.
right around that time.
Isn't the information that you give a dentist like everything about you, like your social security number and everything?
Definitely a lot of stuff. It probably wasn't easy.
Pretty criminal for Kel technically knows Kenan's dad's social security. You can pull a pretty effective fraud.
But what he focused on was that he has 3 cavities. Anyways, another thing How did Kel know that who was going to call on the phone?
Specifically, it was Cheryl's friend from high school that she hasn't talked to in 15 years, named, it's on here somewhere, Claire Mantell. Yes, she called earlier and he said call back at 7.
Yep. But Kel didn't say that when they asked him.
Nope.
And then he knew about Naomi because
he read Kenan's diary.
And it's pretty much that simple. That those are that's the extent of Kel's mental telepathy.
What is not addressed is how he knew his mom is trying to lose 5 pounds.
Oh, good point. Yeah, we don't know that.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation, like she left out like a, tips to lose 5 pounds magazine or something.
Something. Yeah, good catch. I didn't see that one.
But for whatever reason, yeah, they go through like point by point, and yet no, Kel just happened to, is very nosy and pays attention to Kenan's diary because his life's so interesting. Which I think is funny because I think so far in the entire show, Kenan's never been shown without Kel, like nearby. So what is he writing about that?
Yeah, for real. Well, it's funny, we don't see them at school yet. We just see them at their house and at work.
I don't think we're going to see him at school for like the entire like first season.
Yeah, it's a while. Okay, so while this is all happening, Kenan is cooking up a diabolical plot.
Yes. His plan is that we're going to convince everyone that you're psychic so that we can become famous.
Because this is almost always Kenan's goal, right? It's to
get rich, become famous.
Yep, this is pretty much the drives of every 15-year-old.
Yes. He has a really great quote here, probably my quote of the episode, which is that he says to Kel that a boy can't have extra mental abilities without having regular mental abilities. And to which Kel agrees. He says, "Aw, thanks, man."
Yeah. Oh, yes. And Kenan it's really interesting because the dynamic between Kenan and Kel is like, Kenan is trying to like guide and direct Kel, who doesn't know any better. And this is a theme that's very evident throughout the whole entire series, but definitely in this episode, and then the first season.
Absolutely. They rush back out to Chris, and Kenan immediately wants to start trying to use Kel to make his life better. So Kel, in front of Chris, has a vision. What does he see?
He sees a sign.
And on the set behind him is a sign. With it's like 3 for $1 or whatever.
Yes,
and some kind of
Then he says then it involves the number 3, right? And he's clearly just looking at the sign.
Yeah, and Kenan adds that 3 must mean danger, and then they tell Chris that Kenan has a cold, and Cal has seen that he'd get sick if Kenan doesn't go home right away. So it's a lot of Kenan pushing Kel, and by the way, that's in our current pandemic state right now, there's a lot of weird vibes with Kenan's plans to go home sick, because that just they rung a bell for me, because he says to Chris, he's like, "But Chris, I don't feel sick." And Chris is like, "No, you're clearly contagious or whatever."
And then Kenan says, this is one of my favorite lines from the episode. He goes, "But Chris," and he gives this Kenan look, the Kenan look. He says, "I want to work."
Yeah, exactly. That's people not working nowadays.
Yeah, that's exactly
I want to work.
That's exactly the state we're in quarantine.
You gotta stay at home.
With that Kenan stare, maybe at least for the first couple days.
Yeah, so the two of them exit the scene, and someone comes in to buy some stuff from Chris. Chris rings them up, and his total comes to $333, which Chris reacts, "Oh, I'm sorry, we missed the scene."
We did.
There was a brief.
Yeah.
There's a cutaway.
There was a strange cutaway. I mean, I don't blame you for missing it. It was one of the only cutaways we've seen so far.
And it could have been like at any point of the episode, I realized, like later when like they could have said, "Oh, I wonder what Chris is doing now," and
yeah, but they threw it in. So Chris rushes to the back. Kenan and Kel are at the counter, and then you see Chris on the phone. He says, "Hello, is this 333-333?"
Which is great. That's a great way to take the joke. Just he's calling that number.
Yeah. It's so 1996.
He says, "What do you know about my future?"
And they hang up, of course. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
But yeah, no, the total of the guy's order is 333, to which Chris responds by
"Out! Get out!"
and he sprays him with a fire extinguisher.
Yes. What? Like, what? Why was that okay?
Yeah, it's not.
And I'm looking at the scene where Chris was in the back right now. I'm looking at the screenshot almost. And first off, there's a lot going on in the back. There's a sink, there's a TV, there's a clipboards hanging up.
He lives there.
But there's also another fire extinguisher on the wall. And the one he sprays him with is like this silver giant contraption.
Oh, I think that's code. I think it makes sense to me. You said yourself, both halves of the store are the same size. So it's like, all right, they got one for the front and one for the back.
Oh, okay.
I think it's fair.
I know, but the one in the front is like massive and silver.
Oh yeah, and that's not the first time. I recall from some other season 1 episodes that we see that fire hydrant again. It becomes
fire extinguisher.
Chris's
Yeah.
signature. Yeah, it becomes Chris's signature weapon in a way.
Because he needs some protection.
Absolutely.
From the horrors of Chicago.
All right. Now we move along to Kenan's room. I did notice something this episode.
What's that?
I haven't seen a transition in a while. Like, remember we had a bunch of fun ones during the Screwing the Tuna episode?
Yeah.
And I think maybe Hemingway had a couple, but nothing this go round.
No, I mean I did see a couple. I mean one was at the end of the first scene when they're in the Rockmore household. There's a big question mark at the end, and then
Right.
And then later on this episode we'll get there. But there's another good transition. But yeah, they're not like, they're more subtle because post-production realized we would probably get this episode done a lot faster if we didn't have to do all this complicated. In '96 it wasn't that easy to.
Yeah, and that's again them refining it. I think later seasons, like every episode has something notable.
Yeah,
some kind of animation peak of sorts. And it's nothing compares like the when they say so in one scene,
right?
Like the screen too. That's still like top of the food chain.
Right.
All right, we are back in Kenan's bedroom,
which appears to have more pictures hung up and more objects and trinkets each time we go in it.
Yeah, I noticed a couple more items that are like spread throughout the room that weren't here last time, and they're pretty cool.
Like what?
He has a punching bag now.
Oh, well, that's true. Yes, of course. Right above the radiator.
Yeah, I do not recall that from the last go-round. He has a filing cabinet.
Yeah, for all of his diabolical schemes.
Yeah, they're just alphabetically organized. Let's see. And he also has a keyboard.
Yep, he has got a little mini keyboard. He's got a skateboard. He's got
lots of boards.
Lots of boards. He's got a desk. Which isn't up against the wall because it's a set, the desk is kind of floating. And then you got those, the dentures that you wind up and they chop.
Yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff. I don't know, a lot of them, it's kind of strange. Like, Kenan, he wears a lot of sports jerseys, but I don't see him as like I'm gonna hit the punching bag this afternoon.
Yeah, very strange. Definitely like comic book stuff. A lot of like women from magazines like ripped out and
giant posters.
Yeah, it's I mean it would be like a Kenan and Kel fan. I don't know. It'd be like the gold mine to go and like look through Kenan Thompson's room, like the set of Kenan's room, because it's just
right.
like it's the embodiment of Kenan Rockmore,
And yeah, maybe that might be something said to like the set direction and how they're like, oh yeah, he's a teenage kid. He likes all the things that teenage kids like, and they just filled it with that kind of junk.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, I'm sure Kenan and Kel both had a say in what goes in the room.
That's true. I wonder if there's any noteworthy stuff about that.
When we get them on the podcast one day, we'll ask.
Sure. Yeah.
I can't be that hard to get a hold of them. I mean, Kenan.
Question number one. I think Kel is probably more accessible. No offense to Kel Mitchell.
No. I mean, yeah. We'll get into that all after we're done each episode. We'll start talking about biographies.
Sure. Okay, so yes, inside Kenan's room, they start discussing. Kenan tells Kel a bunch of things that he knows about his family that they don't know that he knows, to give Kel, basically to convince the family more than they already believe.
Right.
That he's psychic.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they definitely need more convincing. Which is up for debate, you know.
They were pretty into it already.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They already seemed pretty on board, but anyways, so Kenan, yeah.
I do want to say that this the episode gets a little. I know that I usually watch the episode twice when we talk about it. One a week ago, then I muse on it, then right before the episode we record. But it's a very repetitive episode. In terms of they list things, then they explain the things, or in this case, Kenan lists things, and later Kel delivers them.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I noticed that as well. And then there's always a little outrage with when the list comes out. It's So
there's some good lists later on in the episode, and some good moments. But let's keep going. All right. So what does Kenan tell Kel about his family?
That his mom used to call his dad Snugglebutt.
Yep, when they first started dating.
Yep, Kyra likes older boys.
Which is not something that everyone knows that.
Yeah. Everybody knows Kyra has a massive crush on Kel. And next, that his mother was suspended from college for streaking.
Yes. Which was something that happened in the 70s, according to everyone. And so if you recall last episode, we got into Mrs. Rockmore's age a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And some discrepancies. So I ran the numbers. If she was in college in the 70s, that means she's between the age of 35 and 48. Assuming that she's the youngest.
You said 35 and 48?
Yes.
Oh, because the 70s are... Okay.
The
Continue.
70s is that...
Yeah, I get it. The decade.
That span of 10 years.
Right.
And if she was... I think that's the range of if she was the oldest in 70 or the youngest in 79. So technically any of those could be correct. So that kind of puts her where we were saying, in the 40s.
She probably didn't have Kenan when she was 20, but she might have.
I would be... Yes, I think it's definitely a post-college thing. I'm not sure how the Snugglebutt timeline lines up.
I don't know how anything lines up, but we're getting there. We're getting closer to the...
Right. But, if she was streaking in the 70s, then that means she would be 35 by this time, which means, yeah.
Okay, at least.
At least.
Yeah.
So, we're good. They covered their bases. They did their
homework. Nice job, Dan Schneider.
I don't know if he wrote this episode.
I don't think he did. I just always say Dan Schneider. Because every time when I was watching Nickelodeon as a kid, it was produced by Dan Schneider. Maybe we'll get him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's got a questionable history in recent years.
I'm sure. I wonder how big his house is.
But the team that got into that did this episode was same that wrote this episode, same one that wrote the past two. Kevin Coppolo and Heath Seiferts, I think are their names.
Seiferts.
We're
gonna have to get these people on the show.
I agree. I looked into their IMDb a little bit because this scene that we're about to see about Kel practices his psychic vision
stare.
Look. Yeah, and I was desperate to find the connection between this episode and the 2003 Disney Channel show, That's So Raven.
Yep, I thought of the same exact thing.
Yeah, a show about an African-American teen who also has psychic visions.
Yep, Raven Baxter.
Yep, Raven Simone.
Raven Simone plays Raven Baxter.
Yeah, same thing about the Kenan and Kel
dynamic
with that, right?
Yeah. Same name, but different. Yep.
And her dad, Victor Baxter, in that show plays a character in a later Kenan and Kel episode. Like, that's the one connection
Oh.
that I found.
This is some juicy Kenan and Kel deep diving.
Sure. And, 96 to 2003, that's enough time for people to get inspired by it.
Okay, so what did we already list in the past episodes that Kenan and Kel inspired? Google.
Yeah.
What was the other? There
And
was
now-
another one, but yeah, That's So Raven, which was an incredibly successful show. And did
Oh, yeah. One of the best Disney Channel shows. They had, like, over 100 episodes.
Oh yeah, they did a lot of crossovers with other shows. It was very dynamic.
Yeah, but what I did see is that these two creators that wrote this episode went on to do a Disney Channel show. I think it's Past Our Time. It's called, like, Allie and AJ or something.
Oh
It's like,
yeah. I think I remember hearing about that when I was still in high school.
Yeah, 2010s or something like that.
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's kind of like they missed it by like a hair. Like they were 7 years off from being
Right.
a direct connection to.
Right. I mean, I'm sure Disney, and this is before Disney was as big as it is in 2020, but I'm sure there was some overlap between Disney and Nickelodeon. Like there
Sure, yeah.
had to be.
Yeah, people on the set that worked on the other show and whatnot.
Somebody watching this episode saying, "I have an idea."
Yeah,
But that was the stare is very, very like. I just love, like, it's classic Kenan because he's like, no, you're not doing it right. You got to do it like this. And then he gives the most ridiculous, like, lip quivering, hands touching his temples, like, eyes blinking. And he's trying to get Kel to do it, and Kel's doing it, and it looks fantastic.
yes, very good look to him. Anything else about this guy, or should we hop to the kitchen?
No, let's go to the next one. We covered it.
All right, it's dinner time. The Rockmores minus Kenan, I guess, are gonna go see a movie. The what's the name of the movie?
Oh, what was it? The nasty puppy.
Right. And Kel, as he does in a later episode where they go to the movie theater, spoils the ending.
Yeah.
That the puppy gets the ball in the end.
Yep.
Which is a bad spoiler. That shouldn't ruin the entire movie.
But of course they're so angry. Well, I said so angry. I'm looking at a clip of when Mr. Rockmore is just furious. He's always furious. He plays such a funny character.
He's so grumpy, just continuously.
Well, then he does things like go to the carnival and go to the movies.
Yeah, they knew very early on that seeing his grumpy dad do silly things is great.
Yes.
But yes, Kel starts to do the vision face and drops knowledge that we had just learned in the past scene on the family, including the name Snugglebutt. He points to Kenan's dad and says, "You like older boys."
Kenan's dad stands up, says, "What?
What?" And then changes to Kyra, which it's good. Yes, and then he sees a vision of his mother streaking, to which she covers his eyes.
That's how visions work.
Yes, so they are very spooked by Kel's call-outs, and they go go to leave. Kel has another vision, which I like this because we didn't learn about this one or in the last scene. It's new information.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It's refreshing almost. So
Yeah.
Kel's vision is that he's basically, it's all broken up, and he says, "I see Kenan at school. Accident." His mom is, well, there's not going to be any accident at school if Kenan's not at school. So Kenan, no school for the next 8 days.
Yep. 8 days, a week.
Yep. Well, I don't know why. I think that was a weird piece of writing, right? Because Kel said it was going to be in the next week, and so she said, "Okay, for the next 7 days plus one." Like she did all this extra thinking,
including the weekend.
Yeah,
Like,
she didn't even mention it. She's like, "Okay, the next." And it's like, what? Anyways,
And Kenan has a similar outrage of like, "I want to go to school."
yeah, I want to
And
learn.
again, some real coronavirus vibes.
Oh yeah.
Of just, you can't go to school, you have to stay home.
It's what everybody wishes that they could just stay home.
But it's like a 15-year-old's dream in 96 is now like a reality's nightmare.
Yeah, exactly.
2020.
How ominous. Again, so how weird is it that the episode about Kel being a psychic is unfolding before our eyes in 2020.
I'm surprised in some scene he didn't like shout like 2020 and or
Yeah,
something
right.
misleading like that.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
But yes, no. I guess after this we go back to Rigby's to a very awkward scene.
It's almost unnecessary. It's just
So what I imagine is what the creators of Kenan and Kel did is they like set out like an acting. I don't know exactly how studios do it, but they're like, I think they send out like prompts like, you remember last episode? It's like, all right, we need a big scary guy to say I'm Brian.
Yep.
They're like, okay, we need triplets. I don't care how old they are, but we need triplets. We'll dress them the same
because that's how all triplets dress.
Yeah. Because three very young triplets appear, very bad actors.
I didn't think they did that bad.
I didn't think they did that great.
Well, I mean, what do you expect? They're just triplets.
Yeah, they're just triplets, just little kids, and they're. But they explained to Chris how they came in to have potato chips, and Chris is very freaked out.
Yep, and then they basically. Just like they think he's very weird and they walk out and then he chases them out and he says, "Aren't you gonna hurt me?"
Yeah. What do you know about me? Don't you want to hurt me?
Yes. It's like what he's looking for it. That's kind of funny. I mean, I think that kind of says something about the whole psychic thing. It's like if you do look for it, you will probably eventually find whatever the psychic says.
It's a little weird that that's the end of the like the three I guess it's like rule of three almost. Like all right, yeah, he called the phone, he did the cash register thing, and then he saw triplets. But he's in the rest of the episode, and the three thing doesn't come up anymore.
Yeah, maybe it just internalizes his angst.
Sure.
And we'll never.
He's very skittish. But actually, I want to get into what you just mentioned about psychic visions and stuff like that, and that's something I guess That's So Raven gets into a bit, but it's things that just because you learn about it, like that affects what it is sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole premise of That's So Raven.
Yeah, she has a vision of something that's happened in the future, and it may or may not happen, depending on like how she interacts with the world and how circumstances come to pass, and sometimes it occurs and it's not the way that she thought it would.
Sometimes. That's every episode. But it usually is her actions end up making it happen. Right. And this is very much man's relationship with the future and the past, right? This is what was echoed in the Dan Carlin intro. So yeah, it is funny how people react when they have information that they believe will happen, but they don't necessarily know will happen.
Right.
Kind of make it happen. I mean, this is kind of how reality works. You make things happen by your actions, but it's just funny when you put a comedic spin on it.
In college, I had an anthropology professor that told that I forget the anecdote exactly, but he told a story of a relative of his who like warned him about like slipping and falling because they go to a psychic, and like they said something about that, and it didn't happen to him, and he like told them on the phone. He's like, yeah, no, I went through my whole week and nothing happened, and she said, that's because I told you.
Yeah.
So that psychic's making a lot of money just covering all the bases.
Yep, exactly. Anyways, we're not trying to diss psychics out here, but this episode is not really that much about psychics.
No, it's more about. I think we've hit a couple chords of the past episode. Not the moral of the last one, but a lot of the running theme of Kenan's, I guess, vice is greed and lying.
Yep, both very evident.
He gets a call from the Kevin Conway show.
Kevin Conway, no relation to Kevin Costner.
No, and Kevin Conway's a nothing thing. I looked it up. I think there's some like D-list actor named Kevin Conway, but has nothing to do with this guy. I guess it's a reality show in this world that set in Chicago.
Yep.
But yes, and he's going to interview him for being psychic, and it's their chance to get famous. And Kel adamantly does not want to be on the show.
Not at all.
He knows that he's a dirty liar, and Kenan just keeps pressuring him to do it.
And then they eventually end up going to the back of the store where Kel says my favorite line of the episode. Kenan, I'm not a psychic. Man, I can't predict the future. I'm still confused about the past.
Which is very good.
It's very, very good. It's so good.
If I was writing that, I'd say, like, I'm still confused about the present, but the past is, like, even better.
It's so funny.
His whole life.
What a funny thing to say. It's like, how innocent is Kel? Like, he actually doesn't know how he got here.
Yeah, so, then I guess we cut to an implied scene of Kenan and Kel just kind of chasing each other around the neighborhood. and Kel, they get back to the Rockmore's house, and Kel starts listing all the things that Kenan has gotten him in trouble for in the past.
Yep.
His, like, crazy schemes.
Yep.
Which are some pretty, it's some funny stuff.
Yep. Wearing pantyhose.
Yes.
Tickling that police officer.
Getting bar mitzvahed, which Kenan corrects to bar mitzvahed. which can't be a bad thing.
No, but I mean,
it.
there is a lot of religious kind of like, I don't want to say baggage, but there's a lot of religious connotations there. Yeah,
sure.
You have to do a lot to get a bar mitzvah.
Yeah, and I was from what I know, I went to a school with a heavy like Jewish population.
Right.
So what I've learned is that it's a occasion where people like you get a lot of money as like a teenager from just family members during a bar mitzvah.
Right.
Yeah, it's mostly a bunch of like Jewish relatives and stuff like that. A lot of gifts, money, and it's big.
Oh yeah.
So
oh yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably what Kenan's scheme was to just get.
Yep. Yeah. If we broke it down, sure.
Sure. Then let's see what else happens.
Drinking fish grease.
Selling my kidney. That goes into
that one was way too far.
Yeah,
it wasn't even funny. It was so concerning.
That joins my facts about Kel. Only has one kidney.
Yeah. Oh, like how can you you can't undo that.
He's also like 15. Like what kind of? You need some serious consent to do that at that young.
I mean, there's so much with that. Like, why did they have to say they couldn't think of anything else? Right? It's like they could have said running onto the Chicago Bulls court during halftime or something, right?
Well, the last one is almost more terrible. Gluing myself to that train.
This whole thing is so very concerning.
Yeah, and Kenan says, "Oh yeah, you ran fast. I had to."
Yeah.
Which is, how did they get out of that one?
I don't know.
These are a bunch of like implied episodes that happen, and that's how it would end. Like before they go to like the cut to that'd be the last scene, right? Kel is glued to a train. He's running as fast as he can, and you don't really find out what happens.
Right. I also want to point out about this scene and this kind of, I guess, this day. Kel is wearing a Jackie Robinson shirt or jersey, except so. For everybody who isn't a baseball fan, Jackie Robinson, the first African-American baseball player. He played for I believe the Brooklyn Dodgers. Anyways, Jackie Robinson wore number 42, and now nobody in Major League Baseball wears number 42 because it's retired. And on Jackie Robinson Day, every single player wears 42. Well, Jackie Robinson didn't have a name on the back of his jersey because they didn't do that back then. But Kel's shirt says J. Robinson on the back, and then number 42. So I just thought that was a nice little piece of nice little baseball trivia for you.
I'm glad he caught that. I did not pay any attention to it.
Yep. I mean, I'm looking back at it now, and that's caught my eye.
I think early in the episode, Kenan wears I want to say like Rastafarian colors, like a black jersey or something like that.
Yeah. I mean that he was wearing that earlier this episode, I think, with like the rainbow stripes across. Again,
lots of jersey wearing, but not a lot of sports playing.
Yeah, no, they're big fans for sure. I mean, what kid?
He's got a punching bag. He's got some kind of trophies in his room. I never identified what they were.
I can't imagine. I mean, you live in a city as a kid. It's like you're gonna be a big sports fan, most likely.
I mean, I'm literally looking at baseball trophies on the shelf behind you.
Oh yeah. Yep, I've been cleaning out my room and I've taken out all the high school stuff, and I haven't gotten there yet. I gotta clear that out.
They're pretty cool. Yeah, I can from here see a box in my room that's got like soccer and baseball trophies in them.
Yep, because they're so important and crucial. Anyways.
Yeah, so after Kel saw this stuff, they pretty much, I mean, that's the scene.
Yeah, very short scene, but a lot of context.
You learn a lot about the two of them, but Kenan basically...
One kidney.
Yeah, Kenan forces Kel to go through with this, and cut to the Kevin Conway show.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da.
What do you think of the Kevin Conway as a host?
He's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, I occasionally on the show there's some I call it like dated humor. Like eventually it gets I've seen this so many times since this came out, and like his gag of like Kenan answers a question for Kel and he says, "I was talking to Kel."
Yeah.
And I each time it happened I got like more annoyed.
Yeah, it's
didn't really click with me.
What's funny about this scene is that just like the setting, it looks like a waiting room, or it looks like a.
It does look like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, or maybe like a courtroom, like where hearings are heard. Like it looks very. It does not look like a.
Everyone's on these little like black chairs.
Yeah, everyone's on these like fold-up chairs, and there's it's really good.
I mean, they have stickers on the back that say Kevin Conway Show.
Oh, that's legit.
They went that extra mile.
Yeah.
My question is also, most of the set's pretty dedicated to Kel being a psychic and like proving him like all the tools and stuff like that. What does he do on like a regular night?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just I mean,
is he like always is like his shtick always like proving psychics wrong?
I mean, I'm sure it seems like there's always some twist to the Kevin Conway show. Like you go on and then you do something remarkable and then you become famous. But
or he tries to antagonize you and prove you wrong.
Something like that. Yeah.
I've never seen that like Late Night or Jimmy Kimmel or something like that where
he's just a jerk.
Said, yeah, I see you brought this this Komodo dragon on the stage. Why are you a bad vet?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the audience now, and it's a really, really interesting mix of people. It looks like people who are going to the doctor's office. Like the guy in the front is wearing a hoodie, and there's only about 12 people there.
It's not a lot.
Maybe more like 15. Okay. Anyways.
So it's a pretty funny sequence happens of everyone kind of listing their experience with Kel and things that happen to them. Again, kind of weird show premise that most people are in the same family. I think it's not hard for a whole family to fake stuff.
No, not at all.
But yeah, everyone has. I like the little caption that pops up underneath everyone's name.
Yep, that nice touch by the producers.
Kenan is the best friend of the psychic.
Yep.
Cheryl is amazed by the psychic. Kenan's dad's annoyed by the psychic. Kyra thinks the psychic is way cute. And
the greatest character, the greatest person on the panel. It's
Chris as Ezekiel with quotes around it.
He's dressed as an Amish man.
Do you recall what his caption is?
Full of problems.
Which that's just always funny.
That's great. Very well done.
Yes, and yeah, Chris. They go through kind of everyone's experiences. Chris admits to the crowd, much to their chagrin, that he has dreams being chased by giant bunnies. To which he explodes and says, describes them as teeth as big as a barn door.
Yeah, everybody's just laughing.
Which, do you think that's scary? A bunny that big?
Hey, I've seen was that movie Harvey with James?
Oh yeah,
that's
right.
That's pretty spooky. Oh, isn't that also about psychics? Isn't that movie about psychics?
I know it's about.
It's about like the future. Oh, we're onto something here. we are uncoding the script for this episode.
I looked at this episode versus That's So Raven. I haven't looked at the 60s movie Harvey.
Well, we gotta roll the giant bunny tape here.
All right, so they bring Kel onto the stage, and Kel does not want to be on the stage. He's constantly running back and being pushed up by...
Yeah, he's pushed out, then he runs to the exit, and then he's pushed back on stage.
Yeah. He says to the person that pushes him on the stage, back up before I back you up. Which is...
It's very...
It's just very... I think it's great because he's doing the running. He's trying to escape, and then they say, no, go on stage. And he says, I'm going to fight you.
Yeah. Clearly just doesn't want to be there. And he's being pressured to be there, and he doesn't want to be there.
So yeah, they do the bit about Kevin Conway just asking Kel very directly. And they talk about Kel's history. We learn a couple more things.
Yep. We learned that Kel was a psychic since last Wednesday, and that when he was 6, he once ate 56 caterpillars.
I believe that's 56 caterpillars.
First off, how do you... You're a kid, you're 6 years old, how do you find 56 caterpillars?
That's a feat all of its own.
That is remarkable. You must have a caterpillar plant.
At 6. Yeah, right.
I want to know where the people... I'm looking at the audience. I want to know where these people are now. And what do they tell people, like, when somebody asks them, like, what do you do? Or, what have you been... If they're actors, what have you been in? Like,
they're all extras and stuff.
I was in that one episode of Kenan and Kel.
What's worse is people like Kevin Conway, the guy that played him. He's in, like, 2 things. This is one of them.
Like, Adam, we got to start finding these people and getting them on the show. And just breaking down these scenes.
What,
get the inside scoop.
24 years older. They're still around,
yeah,
surely.
Definitely. I mean, a couple of them look really young.
Kel also admits that when he was younger, he hit his head many times.
As he was pressured by Kenan to say that, of course.
Yep. So Kevin Conway exclaims that they're going to find out if he's a real psychic or big lying faker.
And then they cut to the next scene, and this is where the other transition comes in. So Kel's head turns to the side, and his nose grows really, really long onto the end of the scene, like Pinocchio.
Right.
Which was a very nice touch.
Mm-hmm. And so what do you think of Kevin Conway's scheme right here? Do you think this is good TV?
This is like
borderline. Do you think this is a good way?
This is a borderline like torture. Like that's it. Yeah. It's actually borderline torture. Do you want to explain what it is?
So everyone, so all the witnesses, not like Kenan, his like manager or so like all the people that admitted that they saw him do psychic stuff, innocent parties in this, have helmets on with a big red light on the front and this contraption over the ears. And so when Kel presses the wrong button, if you press the right button, a green light turns on. Woohoo! If you press the wrong button, they hear a loud sound
in their ears.
Terrible.
It's just awful.
Like I learned about that recently. How it's like, vision's one thing, you can have that corrected in certain ways, laser eye surgery and stuff. But like you only have your set type of hearing. There's no like thing you can do to fix that.
Yeah, it's very easy to lose your hearing. Like if you blast music way too loud and.
It's like our cousin Vic. He did a lot of drummer stuff and a lot of, concert stuff. So his crowd hearing isn't great now at almost 30.
Oh, what'd you say? I couldn't hear you. No, I'm joking.
Right.
I'm joking. I made that joke with my anatomy professor because he has hearing aids. And he's like 74 or something. He's like the first day. He's like, it's like, I don't hear very well, so you got to speak up. He's this Italian guy. He only has like 3 teeth. And I go, what? He goes, oh, Lemma. Oh, he's a jokester. So, anyways.
That's good.
Anyways, continue on my little anecdote.
Yeah, but just saying that I don't know what kind of waiver they signed, but I would never sign up for having permanent like ear damage to myself. Of course, it's a sitcom. No, they're not really hearing anything in their ear.
Yeah, maybe we should stop taking the show so literally. Maybe this is our kryptonite.
What I'm saying is that, like, if you took Raven Baxter from That's So Raven and put her in this situation, she would fail it. She doesn't, like, control when she gets visions or anything like that. She doesn't And her visions are never like, oh, press that button and not that
Yeah,
button.
it's quite the lazy scheme to like disprove a psychic.
Yes. So Kel starts guessing buttons. And they're the wrong buttons. He never presses the right button. He just delivers loud sounds into all of the Rockmores and Chris.
Multiple times to Mr. Rockmore.
I like, I think very subtly, Mr. Rockmore says, "That's the same button!" or something. So, and Kenan, alright, so I'll admit that this is the first moment of Kenan and Kel that I was not a big fan of.
Oh, really?
Where Kenan, so his whole this has been Kenan's scheme this whole episode, to get Kel to be a psychic, to like pass him off as a psychic. It's his lie basically, and Kel's just going along. Kel's apologizing for pretending to be a psychic and all that, and Kenan's just really mad. He's going to like fight him and stuff.
Yeah, like his best friend. He's just all
Kel's like weaponizing the sound buttons to fight him, which is funny. But the thing that Kenan shouts really, it reminds me of let's see, the tainting of the screw, where he's like where Kel is in the courtroom on his knees pleading to Kenan. Like he's saying like, we're still boys, right? We're still boys.
Yeah.
That he literally screwed him out of like millions of dollars, and he's like just pleading to him to still be my friend. In this one, Kenan says to Kel, "You're supposed to be my boy."
Yeah.
Like, because he's not lying for him.
Yeah. It is it is very dark.
Because he was like caught in a situation where he can't lie anymore, and he was caught with his pants down basically, and he's delivering pain to him.
Yeah, it is very sticky. It goes down a very sticky road.
I'm sorry. What? Sorry? You sorry? I'm not a psychic. I'm just a child. You just a child. Here I come. I'm gonna get you for messing up. I'm playing. You're the worst. You're supposed to be my boy. Ow! This gonna work. Ow, man. Ow! I'm gonna beat you. Ow! Daddy!
For sure.
I'm not a fan of the ending of the episode. Just throwing it out there. It's fun. It's funny, and on first glance, it's harmless. But yeah, I think Kenan goes to a mean place to his friend, who's only doing everything you told him to.
Yeah, and then the scene kind of ends with Kel yelling, "I'm not a psychic. I'm just a child."
Which I think is a subtle, like that catchphrase comes back a couple times later.
I'm just a child. Yeah.
I'm just a child.
Yeah. Yep.
But yep, that's the episode.
Yep.
We go back outside to the curtain, where Kel does like a "I knew that" type of thing, and Kenan, for the first time, lists a couple things for Kel to get with a new scheme.
A raccoon and some fruit juice.
To which Kel says, "Raccoons don't even eat fruit juice."
Or drink.
Don't even drink fruit juice. Which I think a raccoon would drink fruit juice.
Probably, but who knows?
Yeah, they eat fruit. They'd probably drink it, but yes, that's the episode.
That's it.
All right, so what are your impressions at the end of this one?
I was like, I really thought that this episode inspired That's So Raven. I don't see see how it couldn't have. It's so like, yeah, it just follows the same line. I thought it was funny how just like the dynamic of the whole family trying to, they supported the decision for Kel to go on the show enough, like that they just went along with it and they were on TV. Though I don't know, it's very like it was almost one of those episodes where they tried to do too much.
Yeah, they had a good premise throughout the whole episode. It was continuous for sure, but Kenan's plan isn't really totally thought through. No,
and it doesn't really come to a conclusion either.
No, I feel like the show ends really abruptly after the Kevin Conway episode.
Yeah.
I'd like a follow-up scene where they kind of apologize to each other. But I don't know. It left a sour taste in my mouth, Kenan's attitude. But so whose fault do you think it is, or whose fault do you think is more specifically this episode?
More specifically, Kenan. But at the same time, Kel could have told people in the very beginning
Yeah, that's true.
Right, so he could have said,
I'm not gonna blame Kel for his lack of intelligence and foresight.
Yeah, in that sense, it's definitely Kenan's fault.
Absolutely. And it's been a lot of Kenan thus far. I think at some point that dynamic's gonna like shift later in the show, but so far it's mostly Kenan's totally his fault.
Mostly Kenan's doing, that's right.
I have like 50-50 for tainting of the screw.
Yeah.
Because, Kenan sued them, but Kel, as he declares, puts the screw in the tuna.
Yes.
All right. So running the Rigby numbers, they actually tear through some of Chris's inventory this episode. A 2-liter of orange soda, an apple, either a donut or a bagel, something Kel gets out of the container, and a box of tissues, if you recall, where Kel takes off the shelf when he learns that he's going to be in the show and starts, ripping through them. That adds to the total. Until we hit some significant numbers, this is just all peanuts to the mountain of Google Pops.
Or the
and the Skunkatour comics.
Yeah.
That's as far as I got it. I guess anything else with this episode before Kel has one kidney now that we've established.
We gotta give it a rating.
Oh, absolutely. So on IMDb, this is ranked. Let's see. This is ranked number 29. That's kind of like high medium in the list of episodes, and with a score of 7.6. So I guess high medium on the upper half of the show. Which I might see that. Well, out of 10 bottles of orange soda, how many would you give this episode?
I would say 7, 6.5, 7, probably 7.
All right.
Yeah.
It's pretty high amounts. I'd see. So, I want to give it points because it introduced Who Loves Orange Soda, which is great. Most of the show coast off that line. That said, I think it's to me, it's very much an average to almost below average episode. In terms of, I feel like the dynamic gets better, but I guess I'll be fair and give it I was thinking 4 or 5.
Oh, wow.
Pretty low. I'll give it a 5 just to, this is an average episode.
I think it was good. I think the writing kind of saved it. There were some very clever lines and some very clever things. So I think the writing was pretty solid in this episode. A lot of lists, but no, I mean, I think I stand by my 6.5, 7, something around there. So
yeah, and it's good that I feel like our grades were a little too close.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going all in. 4.
You're giving it a 4?
Like right below average.
Wow. Is average 4? Isn't average 6?
I give average of a 5. I guess average in Kenan and Kel show. Yeah. But 4 just because of how repetitive it was. Say last episode, Doing Things at Hemingway, we did all kinds of... They had a bunch of lists. Every scene was a new thing. And it was just a lot of the same scenes over and over again.
Right.
So.
All right. Fair enough.
Hey, it's... I want to have a low point so I can say everything else is above it. Who knows? This could be the worst episode.
I hope so. That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be very good. And so I'd call this the first dud of the run, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough.
And but there's definitely some jewels coming up in season 1.
Can't wait.
So next time, please join us for episode 5, Da Bomb.
Dun dun dun.
Which I think is a real 90s episode.
Oh, I cannot wait.
So, yep. You think 4 is too mean?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give it a 5.
All right. We settled. For an arbitrary number that doesn't matter at all.
it can't be average with the orange soda thing.
Yeah.
We'll score below it. So 4.5 to 5.
All right.
So do you want to close this out?
Aw, here it goes. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. If you want to stay in touch, send us an email at KenanKelPodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/Kenan Kel podcast. Our social media accounts are all at Kenan Kel podcast. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks, everybody.